The first time I found out my wife had told thousands of people I was dead, I was standing in a Tesco car park holding a bag of oranges. Not exactly the dramatic moment you imagine when your life falls apart. No thunder. No slow motion music. No emotional warning. Just me, jet-lagged, exhausted, trying to remember where I parked my car, while my phone lit up with a message from a woman I hadn't spoken to since university. It said, "Daniel, this is going to sound insane, but are you alive?" At first, I thought it was a joke. A weird joke, but still a joke. So I replied. Last time I checked, yes. She didn't send laughing emojis. She didn't say sorry. She sent me a link. The preview image loaded slowly. Then I saw my own face. A photo of me from my wedding day. Underneath it were the words, "Forever my husband. Forever my angel." And below that, "Help Lena rebuild after losing Daniel." Lena. My wife. The woman I had kissed goodbye 8 weeks earlier before flying to Canada to help my older brother recover from surgery. The woman who had cried at the airport and told me she didn't know how she'd sleep without me. The woman who had been texting me every day. The woman who, apparently, had been telling the internet I was dead. I stood in that car park staring at my phone until the oranges split through the bottom of the paper bag and rolled across the wet tarmac. A woman nearby said, "Oh love, your oranges." I didn't move. Because on my screen was a video of my wife crying beside a framed photo of me. A candle burning next to it. Soft piano music playing in the background. And Lena whispering. Some mornings, I still reach for his side of the bed. That was interesting. Because I had spoken to her on FaceTime the night before. From my hotel room. While she complained that the Wi-Fi made my face look blurry. My name is Daniel. I'm 36. Or, according to my wife's followers, I was 36. When I met Lena, she wasn't famous. She wasn't even trying to be famous. She worked part-time at a boutique, took photos of her coffee like everyone else, and had 300 Instagram followers, most of whom were relatives or girls she went to school with. She was beautiful, but not in a polished influencer way. She was warm. Funny. A little chaotic. The kind of woman who could make a waiter laugh, get free dessert, then forget where she parked the car. I loved that about her. I was careful by nature. She was spontaneous. I saved receipts. She saved dried flowers inside books. I measured life. She decorated it. For the first few years, we balanced each other. Then social media changed her. Not all at once. That's the thing people don't understand. Nobody wakes up one morning and becomes someone else. They become someone else one reward at a time. At first, it was harmless. She posted outfits. Home decor. Little videos of our dinners. Then one of her posts went viral. It was a video of her crying in our kitchen after a bad day at work. She talked about feeling lost in her 30s, feeling invisible, feeling like she had failed at life because she wasn't where she thought she'd be. It was honest. People connected with it. The comments were kind. "You're not alone. This made me cry. You're so real." Lena glowed for days. I was happy for her. I really was. She had always wanted to feel seen. But then she started chasing that feeling. Every inconvenience became content. Every argument became a vulnerable moment. Every quiet Sunday became a chance for a soft focus video about healing. If I made her tea, she filmed it. If I was tired and didn't want to talk, she posted about emotional distance in marriage. If I asked her not to share private details, she said I didn't support her voice. That phrase became her shield. My voice. Any boundary I had was an attack on her voice. At first, I tried to be understanding. I knew the internet mattered to her. She started getting brand deals. Small ones. Candles. Skin care. Journals. Then bigger ones. A therapy app. A mattress company. A meal kit. She began calling herself a grief and growth creator, even though at that time, thankfully, neither of us had experienced a major loss recently. When I asked why grief was in the title, she said, "Everyone is grieving something, Daniel." I remember thinking that sounded profound. Now I think it sounded like market research. The first real red flag came when my father died. Dad had been sick for a long time. It wasn't sudden, but it still gutted me. He was a quiet man. Practical. The kind who showed love by fixing your fence or putting petrol in your car when you weren't looking. At his funeral, Lena was supportive. She held my hand. She made sure I ate. She cried when I cried. Then, 2 days later, she posted a photo of herself in black, standing near his coffin. The caption said, "Grief has entered our home, and we are learning to sit with it." Our home. Our grief. My father. Her content. I asked her to take it down. She looked genuinely hurt. She said, "I'm processing." I said, You can process without posting my dad's coffin. She deleted it. But she was cold for 3 days afterward. She said I had humiliated her. I said she had used my father's funeral as a backdrop. She said I didn't understand how online community worked. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I still don't. But I know the difference between sharing pain and packaging it. 2 years later, my older brother, Michael, moved to Canada. He had always wanted to go. New start. Better job. Mountains. Ridiculous winter coats. Then he got into an accident while cycling. A car clipped him on a dark road. He survived, but he needed multiple surgeries. He had no wife, no kids, and no one nearby who could stay with him through recovery. So I went. It wasn't even a question. Lena seemed supportive at first. She cried at the airport. She said, "I hate being without you." I hugged her and said, "It's only 6 to 8 weeks." She said, "What am I supposed to do here alone?" I thought she meant emotionally. I didn't realize she meant professionally. The first few weeks in Canada were brutal. Hospital visits. Physiotherapy appointments. Insurance paperwork. Michael pretending he wasn't scared. Me pretending I wasn't exhausted. Lena and I spoke every night. Sometimes for 10 minutes. Sometimes an hour. She told me she missed me. She told me the house felt empty. She sent pictures of our dog, Milo, sleeping on my pillow. She even said she was taking a break from posting because she couldn't create while I was away. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? That's the stupidest part of betrayal. Before it happens, trust feels reasonable. After it happens, people act like you were foolish for not suspecting the person who promised to love you. Around week 4, I noticed she was acting strange. Not cold. Not distant. Just careful. When I asked what she did that day, she gave vague answers. Just errands. Just editing. Just had a bit of a cry. She stopped sending random house photos. She asked me not to comment on her posts because she was reworking her brand direction. I laughed and said, "What am I, off-brand?" She didn't laugh back. She said, "I just want some parts of my life to be mine." That hurt, but I let it go. I was too busy holding my brother upright in hospital bathrooms to investigate my wife's Instagram strategy. Then Michael developed an infection after surgery, and my stay extended. 8 weeks became 10. Lena cried when I told her. Not angry crying. Not supportive crying. Panicked crying. She said, "You can't come home later." I said, "I don't really have a choice." She said, "Daniel, I need you here." I thought she was lonely. I promised I'd fly back as soon as Michael was stable. Then, 3 days later, Michael's doctor said he was improving faster than expected. I booked a surprise flight home. I wanted to walk into our house with flowers. I wanted to see Lena's face. I wanted to sleep in my own bed. I didn't tell her. That decision saved me. Because if I had told her I was coming home, she would have buried everything. Instead, I landed in Manchester on a Thursday morning. I bought oranges because Lena always said Canadian fruit tasted like disappointment and she missed proper supermarket oranges, which made no sense but made me smile. Then I got the message. "Are you alive?" From Emily Carter. University friend. Haven't spoken in 9 years. I clicked the link she sent. It was a fundraiser. The title said, "Help Lena after the sudden loss of her husband. Raised so far £48,712. I thought I was going to faint. There were updates. Photos. Videos. My wedding photo. A picture of my shoes by the front door. My old hoodie on the bed. A video of Lena crying into Milo's fur. And the story. According to Lena, I had died suddenly while abroad. The wording was vague. No specific hospital. No official details. Just enough tragedy to make people fill in the blanks. Daniel was helping family overseas when the unthinkable happened. The shock has left me unable to work consistently. Your support will help me cover mortgage payments, grief therapy, and daily living while I learn how to breathe again. Mortgage payments. I paid the mortgage. From Canada. Every month. There were comments. Thousands of them. Stay strong, beautiful. He is watching over you. I can feel how much he loved you. She lost her soulmate and still shows up for us. That one almost made me throw my phone. Shows up for us. I scrolled further. There was merchandise. A necklace. A candle. A journal. All part of something called the Forever series. And on every product page was a line. Inspired by Lena's journey through sudden widowhood. Widowhood. My living wife was monetizing my death. While I was buying oranges. I don't remember driving home clearly. I remember sitting in the car outside our house. The curtains were drawn. The wreath on the door was black ribbon and dried white roses. A wreath. On my front door. For me. My hands shook so badly I couldn't put the key in at first. When I walked inside, the house smelled different. Candles. Too many candles. The hallway table had photos of me. Not one or two. A shrine. Wedding photo. Holiday photo. A framed picture of me and Milo. A candle below each one. A small card that said, Daniel James Carter. Loved beyond words. 1988 to 2026. I stared at my own death date. 2026. Lena hadn't even bothered to choose a realistic year, apparently. Then Milo heard me. He came tearing down the stairs so fast he slipped on the hallway rug. He barked once. Then whined. Then jumped at me like he thought I had come back from heaven. I sank to the floor and held him. That was when I cried. Not when I saw the fundraiser. Not when I saw the shrine. When the dog believed in me more honestly than my wife did. Upstairs, I heard movement. Then Lena's voice. Milo? What is it? She appeared at the top of the stairs wearing one of my t-shirts. For a second, she looked normal. Sleepy. Barefoot. My wife. Then she saw me. I have never seen a human face change like that. All the color drained from her. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. I stood slowly. I said, surprise. She grabbed the banister. Daniel. I looked around at the candles. At least you remember my name. She came down the stairs like she was approaching a wild animal. You weren't supposed to be back until next week. Not. You're home. Not. I missed you. Not. I'm sorry. You weren't supposed to be back until next week. That sentence told me everything. I held up my phone. Am I dead, Lena? She started crying immediately. Too fast. Like an actress hitting her cue. Please let me explain. I said, I'm begging you to try. She said it started as a mistake. That was her first lie. She said she posted a video about missing me, and someone commented, I'm so sorry for your loss, and the post went viral before she could correct it. That was her second lie. She said she panicked. Third. She said people had already donated money before she realized how bad it looked. Fourth. Then I opened the fundraiser. Showed her the date. It had been created 6 weeks earlier. Not accidentally. Not after a misunderstanding. 6 weeks. She had written the story herself. She had approved withdrawals. She had posted updates. She had sold candles. She had sat beside a framed picture of me and told strangers she still reached for my side of the bed. I said, I spoke to you last night. She sobbed harder. I know. You cried about missing me while telling the world I was dead. I didn't know how to stop. I looked at the shrine again. You could have started by not lighting candles under my face. She said, it got out of control. That phrase. Out of control. People love that phrase when something they controlled starts controlling them back. I walked into the living room. There were boxes everywhere. Merchandise. Shipping labels. Journals. Candles. Necklaces. Tissue paper. Cards with my initials printed in gold. DJC. Dead, apparently, but well branded. I picked up one of the candles. The label said, his side of the bed. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was either laugh or break something. Lena whispered, I was going to tell you. I turned around. When? She didn't answer. When, Lena? Before or after the next product launch? She flinched. Then she said the thing that still makes me sick. You don't understand what it became. I said, explain it. She wiped her face. The community, they needed me. Women messaged me saying I helped them grieve. People said my videos saved them. I stared at her. You are not grieving. She said, I was grieving being alone. I said, I was in Canada taking care of my injured brother. She said, and I supported you. I looked around the room. At my memorial? She shouted then. For the first time. I was drowning, Daniel. There it was. The turn. The moment she tried to make her fraud a symptom of my absence. She said I left her. She said I didn't understand how lonely she was. She said she finally felt like people cared. She said money came in, and for the first time in years, she felt secure. I said, you made 50 grand by killing me. She whispered, it wasn't like that. I said, then what was it like? She couldn't answer. Because there was no softer version. My wife had discovered that my death was more profitable than my life. I told her I needed space. She asked if I was leaving. I said, I don't know. Then her eyes widened. Not with sadness. With fear. She said, you can't post anything. I blinked. What? She stepped closer. Daniel, please. If people find out like this, they'll destroy me. For 1 second, I almost admired the honesty. She was not afraid of losing me. She was afraid of losing the audience. I said, you told people I died. She said, I know, but if we explain it carefully. We? She swallowed. I said, what exactly is your plan? Resurrection content? She actually looked like she was considering it. That was the moment I walked out. I went to my best friend Tom's flat. Tom opened the door, saw my face, and immediately said, who died? I laughed so hard I nearly threw up. Then I told him everything. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he said, mate, you need a solicitor before you need a drink. Then he poured me one anyway. The next morning, I called a solicitor. Then I called my bank. Then the fundraiser platform. Then the police non-emergency line, because apparently being falsely dead in a fundraising campaign is not just a marriage issue. It's fraud. Who knew? I also called my brother in Canada. Michael was silent for a long time. Then he said, so while I was learning to walk again, she was crowdfunding your funeral? I said, basically. He said, I hate her. I said, get in line. By that afternoon, Lena had sent me 37 messages. Some apologies. Some explanations. Some panic. Then she switched tactics. Please don't ruin me. My mental health is fragile. You know I never meant to hurt anyone. We can say it was a misunderstanding. We can refund quietly. Think of Milo. That one made me angry. Think of the dog. The dog who had mourned me more honestly than she had. I didn't reply. Then I checked her page. She had posted a new video. She was sitting on the floor beside the shrine, eyes red, voice trembling. She said, today has been one of the hardest days since losing Daniel. I can't say much yet, but sometimes grief brings unexpected storms. Please be gentle with me. Unexpected storms. Me. I was the storm. Not the fake death. Not the fundraiser. Me coming home alive. That video got 80,000 views in 2 hours. Comments flooded in. We love you. Take all the time you need. Daniel would be so proud. I read that last one out loud to Tom. He said, Daniel is right here and Daniel is livid. That was when we saw the announcement. Lena was going live that evening. A community healing circle. The caption said, tonight, we gather for truth, grief, and love. Truth. That word pushed me over the edge. I called my solicitor. I asked what I was allowed to say publicly. She told me to be factual. No insults. No speculation. No threats. Facts. I could do facts. At 7:55 p.m., I was sitting in Tom's car outside a small event space in the city. Lena had rented it for the livestream. Apparently, the healing circle was not just online. There were people there. Followers. Local supporters. A brand representative. A woman selling flower arrangements. A photographer. My wife had turned my fake death into a networking event. I walked in at 8:07. Late enough for the livestream to already be running. The room was dimly lit. Candles everywhere. Of course. There was a large printed photo of me on an easel. The same wedding photo. Below it was a table with white roses, donation cards, and a sign that said, Daniel's light lives on. I stopped at the back of the room. Lena was at the front, holding a microphone. She wore a white dress. Soft makeup. Bare feet. Widow chic, apparently. She was saying, some people think grief is just sadness. But grief is also love looking for somewhere to go. A few people nodded. Someone wiped tears. Then Lena looked up. And saw me. Her voice stopped. The whole room followed her gaze. At first, nobody understood. I saw confusion. Recognition. Then shock. A woman near me whispered, oh my god. The livestream comments must have exploded, because the woman filming looked down at the screen and gasped. Lena's mouth moved, but nothing came out. I walked slowly to the front. Nobody stopped me. Why would they? I was the guest of honor. I stopped beside my own memorial photo. Then I looked at Lena and said, hi. That was all. Hi. One word. The room erupted. People started talking all at once. Is that him? What is happening? Is this a stunt? Daniel? Lena whispered, please don't. I reached for the microphone. She held onto it for a second. Then let go. I turned to the room. My voice shook at first, but I forced it steady. My name is Daniel Carter. I am not dead. Someone actually screamed. The woman filming kept filming. Good. I continued. I have been in Canada helping my brother recover from an accident. I returned home this morning and discovered that my wife has been telling people I died. Lena started crying. Not quietly. Big, dramatic sobs. I didn't look at her. I found the fundraiser. I found the merchandise. I found the posts. I found the candles with my initials on them. A few people looked toward the merchandise table. The brand representative slowly stepped away from it. I said, I don't know what Lena has told you. I don't know what you donated. But if you gave money because you believed I was dead, you were lied to. A woman in the front row stood up. She said, I donated £2,000. The room went silent. Her voice cracked. My husband died last year. I thought she understood. That broke something in me. Because until then, part of me was still thinking like a husband. My betrayal. My marriage. My life. But this woman had handed real grief to a person pretending to have it. Lena whispered, I'm sorry. The woman turned to her. You used us. Lena shook her head. No. I was in pain. And maybe she was. But pain does not become permission. I said into the microphone. I will be working with the platform and proper authorities to make sure people are refunded where possible. I'm sorry you found out this way. I found out this way too. Then I put the microphone down. Lena grabbed my arm. Daniel, please. I love you. I looked at her hand on my sleeve. Then at the photo of me beside us. I said, quietly, you loved my absence. She let go. I walked out. Tom was waiting by the door. He said, that was biblical. I said, drive. The video went everywhere. Not just local. Everywhere. Within hours, clips had been reposted across TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. The headline wrote itself. Woman's dead husband appears at her live fundraiser. My phone became unusable. Texts from old friends. Relatives. Journalists. People asking if it was real. People asking for interviews. People apologizing for mourning me. My aunt sent a message saying, I did think it was strange nobody told me about your funeral. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Lena's accounts went private by midnight. The fundraiser froze the donations. Brands started deleting sponsored posts. The therapy app issued a statement saying they were reviewing the partnership. The candle company disappeared from her page so fast you'd think it had been hallucinated. The next morning, Lena came to Tom's flat. He didn't want to let her in. I said it was fine. She looked destroyed. No makeup. Hair messy. Face swollen. For a second, I felt the old instinct. Comfort her. Fix it. Make the bad things stop. Then I remembered the wreath on my front door. She sat across from me and said, I ruined everything. I said, yes. She flinched. I thought you'd say it wasn't everything. It was everything. She cried. This time, quietly. She said she didn't know who she was anymore. She said the attention became addictive. She said every time she tried to stop, another message came in from someone saying she helped them. She said she started believing her own sadness was close enough to grief. Close enough? That phrase made me feel cold. I said, you were sad because I was away. You told people I was dead. Those are not neighbors. She nodded. Then she said, can we survive this? I looked at her. Really looked. This woman I had married. This woman who had danced barefoot in our kitchen. This woman who used to save dried flowers inside books. This woman who had sold candles named after my empty side of the bed. I wanted to say yes. Not because I believed it. Because yes would have been easier. Yes would have meant I didn't have to dismantle my life. Yes would have meant the story could become a chapter instead of an ending. But some things cannot be repaired because repair would require you to pretend the damage makes sense. I said, no. She closed her eyes. I continued. You didn't make one mistake. You built a business out of a lie and put my face on it. She whispered, I know. You made strangers grieve me while I was alive. I know. You turned my absence into a product. She cried harder. I said, and when I came home, you were more afraid of losing followers than losing me. That was the one she couldn't answer. Because it was true. The divorce process was ugly, but not dramatic in the way people expected. There were no screaming matches. No smashed plates. No big confrontation after the live event. The biggest dramas were legal. Money had to be traced. Refunds processed. Statements made. Lena eventually posted an apology video. It was not perfect. It still sounded too polished. Too careful. Too full of phrases like harm caused and lost sight of reality. But she admitted I was alive. So that was progress. She lost most of her followers. Not all. The internet is weird. Some people stayed. Some said she was mentally unwell and deserved grace. Some said I had humiliated her too publicly. Some said walking into the fundraiser was cruel. Maybe it was. But it is hard to expose a public lie privately when the lie is selling tickets. The woman who donated £2,000 got her money back. A lot of people did. Not everyone. Some money had already been spent. Lena had used part of it to pay bills. Part for home decor. Part for business expenses. Part for a content retreat she had described as grief therapy. That detail made the police officer pause when he read it. Even he said, "That's bold." Milo stayed with me. That was the easiest decision in the divorce. Lena didn't fight for him. I think part of her knew she had no right. Or maybe Milo didn't fit the rebrand. I moved into a smaller flat near my work. For the first few weeks, I hated it. Too quiet. Too blank. No history. No memories. But then I realized that was exactly why I needed it. Nothing in that flat had been staged for strangers. No candles under my face. No camera angles. No captions. Just walls. A sofa. A dog bed. And peace. Michael came to stay once he was well enough to travel. He walked in with a cane, looked around, and said, "Nice place for a dead man." I laughed for the first time without feeling sick. We bought takeaway, watched terrible television, and didn't talk about Lena for 3 hours. That felt like healing. Not the kind people sell in journals. The real kind. Boring. Quiet. Unmarketable. Months passed. The story faded online, as all stories do. People moved on to newer scandals. Newer villains. Newer things to be outraged about while brushing their teeth. But I still had to live inside the aftermath. Grief is strange when you're grieving someone who was alive. I didn't miss the woman who lied. I missed the woman I thought she was. I missed Sunday mornings. I missed her singing badly in the shower. I missed the version of our marriage that existed before every feeling became potential content. But then I would remember standing beside my own memorial photo while she whispered, "Please don't." And the missing would pass. One day, about 6 months after the divorce started, I found one of her old books while unpacking. A dried flower fell out. A tiny yellow one from a walk we took in Wales years ago. She had written beside it, "Daniel says I collect dead things." I told him I collect proof things lived. I sat on the floor holding that flower for a long time. Then I threw it away. Not because the memory meant nothing. Because it meant something once. And that was enough. The divorce finalized in May. Lena sent one last email afterward. No drama. No begging. Just a message. "I am sorry I made more room for strangers than I made for you." That sentence sounded true. So I replied, "I hope you get better. I hope you do it offline." Then I blocked her. I don't know what happened to her after that. I heard she moved in with her sister. I heard she started therapy. Real therapy, not affiliate link therapy. I heard she works at a florist now. Maybe that's true. Maybe it isn't. I don't search. People ask me all the time what the worst part was. They expect me to say the fundraiser. Or the candles. Or seeing my face on a memorial table. But honestly, the worst part was realizing my wife did not need me to die to replace me. She only needed me to be absent long enough to discover my absence performed better. That's the part that still hurts. Not that she lied to strangers. That she looked at the space where I should have been and saw opportunity. But I learned something too. Love should not make you into content. Pain should not require an audience to be real. And if someone only knows how to value you when your story benefits them, they don't love you. They love the role you play in their narrative. For Lena, I became a tragedy. A brand. A candle. A caption. For me, she became a lesson. A brutal one. But a useful one. Now, every morning, Milo jumps onto my bed at exactly 6:45 and steps directly on my ribs like he's trying to restart my heart manually. I make coffee. I go to work. I call my brother. I live a quiet life. A living life. No soft piano music. No inspirational caption. No ring light. Just breath. And some days, that feels like enough. So yes, my wife told the internet I was dead. Yes, she raised money. Yes, she sold grief with my name on it. Yes, I walked into her live fundraiser and ruined the performance. But what else was I supposed to do? Stay dead for the algorithm? No. I had already lost my marriage. I wasn't going to lose my life too.